Not one, not two, not three, but just for good measure, a fourth bomb by Frank Seravalli regarding the Calgary Flames. It was a tough Thursday for that fan base. Noah Hannafin, Elias Lindholm, Tyler Toffoli, Michael Backlund. Seravalli pretty much intimating that all four of those guys are not interested in re-signing with that team following next season when they'll become UFAs next summer, man. That is some tough news. But ultimately, you like to link it to Toronto and who was the former GM of the Calgary Flames, Brad Treliving.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be some opportunity to scoop up, I don't know, if you want to, some of those guys. But, you know, talk about a team being put in a position lately.
Oof.
I mean, they just did their rebuild and they were on fire 2 years ago, and then just get dismantled from the point of Johnny Gaudreau and to Chuck leaving. They did. I mean, Treliving did a fantastic job at getting some kind of value for those guys just bailing. You bring in a couple of guys, Uyghur and Huberdeau, and get Kadri re-signed, and they just didn't get it done this year. I mean, Huberdeau was embarrassingly bad. I mean, the people up in Calgary, my group chat is all my buddies are Flames fans, right?
Okay.
So I get the second hand smoke from all those guys, and they're just disgusted in Huberdeau. Like, who is this guy? We give up a Tkachuk for this guy who just mails it in, has one of the biggest setbacks after a big year in NHL history, and not a big fan of Kadri, some of them guys either, just the way he's kind of seems like he mails it in. And now you got 3-4 other guys who are like, yeah, we're gone too. And makes you wonder, like, what is with this generation where, like, okay, it's cold up in Calgary for most of the hockey season. They're building a new rink, but it's not there yet. Their locker room and their amenities are not NHL quality, and they're working on that. So I guess that's kind of the thing. But can you think of the past where an organization just has like 5 core guys just like, I'm leaving? Like, usually it's like, do we have a chance to win? Who's coaching? What's the team looking like? How close are they to winning? And what's the contract situation? That's the only thing that matters. And now it's like, well, I like the sunshine. I want to wear my flip flops to school or to the rink. So it's weird, man. It's kind of unprecedented. And the Calgary Flames fans are pulling their hair out right now, going, what the hell is going on? But again, to bring it into Maple Leafs terms, I mean, I don't know. None of those guys have much grit. None of them have too much sand in their game, to be honest. Hannafin would be maybe a solid defenseman, is what we're looking at here. He's 38 points, 26 years old, Boston kid. I would just love it if like a gritty defenseman came up, or like a really gritty like third liner came up who just loves to work. And none of the people in Calgary are too happy with these guys. They seem pretty soft, and we'll see where they end up. But I imagine, a guy like Brad Treliving has got all the ins and outs of all these guys, and he knows very well if he wants them or not and what value.
I think it's all perception. Like, let's not lose sight of the fact that a year ago, Calgary was the prototypical playoff team. They were going to win the Stanley Cup. They got Huberdeau. They got Nazem Kadri. So I think there's a bit of a recency bias with that. I wouldn't call these guys soft. Like, I watch a lot of Calgary Flames games. I do think some of these guys could help the Leafs out. Like, a Tyler Toffoli is such a clutch player, man. And I think that's honestly what's been missing from this team. We've talked about a lot the last couple of weeks how they can't score when it matters most. Well, you look at the pedigree of Tyler Toffoli. He scored some big-time goals in his career, won cups. Like, he's done it all. Like, that's the guy I would look at. Honestly, I could make sense of all 4 of these guys and being linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You need center help. Of course, if you're thinking John Tavares is better suited for the wing, that's where Backlund fits in. That's where an Elias Lindholm fits in. Obviously, it would have to be big-time move, to trade for an Elias Lindholm, considering the dollar value being thrown around for potential extension with that guy. But Noah Hannafin is the guy I would zone in on. Like, he is a upgrade to anything this team has in the back end, maybe aside from Morgan Riley. But I do think there's some untapped potential with a guy like Noah Hannafin. But by far, he would bolster that top 4, and I think he would add a different look to that blue line.
Yeah, he could. And if we're I think up front is where we need the grit and where we need the intensity and the workhorse. And I wasn't putting Toffoli into that group. I was looking at those 3 guys. If Toffoli becomes available and you can make a deal, he'd be my number 1 out of all those guys. I like that guy. He is a workhorse. He just plays with intensity. He's gritty. I'm not saying he fights guys and hits guys and starts shit, but he just will go through the hard areas. He'll cut to that middle of the ice and battle and have a guy hanging off him and keep his feet moving and second effort and bury that thing. And then huge celly. Like, he's an intense player. He doesn't sit on the perimeter and say, ooh, you take the puck. That wasn't close enough for me to get. And I just want this one-timer right in my sweet spot. Like, fuck that, man. That doesn't get it done. And we got too many of those guys. I want a gritty guy who will just not try to draw a penalty, who will just work his absolute bag off trying to get to that puck or get through to that sweet spot. If they call a penalty on him, fine, but he's certainly not trying to draw him. He's just working his ass off, playing with intensity, and I like Toffoli a lot. Make that move. And then Hannafin on the back end would be nice too. It just matters, what do you got to do to get those guys, right? That's going to be the big question if they can get a deal done. And if they don't get a deal done and say, well, why didn't we get these guys? It's because they couldn't make a deal that made sense. They had to give up too much to give them, and it wouldn't be worth it.